Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the February 22 edition of the OL Assembly. I have my co-host, Kavita Menon, and guess where she is right now? I'll add her to the stream and let's hear it from her.
Hear me? Hi,
Hi,
Mahesh.
Kavita.
I'm in Kuno. My best friend from school is here visiting, and she's based out of Sicily now. Her name is Lisa Rosario, and I'm at her dad's office now, using it comfortably in Kuno. So I went to school today, and they didn't let me in.
Wow.
But it's lovely. The weather is beautiful here, and it's amazing. And I'm so glad we're going to do the OL assembly this time.
I know, tell me about it. And you're looking lovely.
Thank you, Mahesh. I was trying to match you.
Oh,
We're also the same colors.
see, I didn't even know that. We're coordinated.
Yeah.
Of course. So the difference is you can stand, but I cannot because I don't want my boxers to be seen on air. Okay. So, Kavita, I heard you are, you try to visit school. How's the weather in Ooty and how's the
Oh my
scene in
God.
school?
It's fantastic. School looked brilliant. I walked in very authoritatively into school thinking they'll think I'm a teacher, but no. They stopped me and they said, Rama, you can't go inside. It was really sad. And I said, why not? And they said, ask the headmaster. So I said, I dropped his name and I was like, oh, Mr. Prabhakaran. And I thought they'd be scared, but they said, no, you can't go in anyway. And then they said, please ask the bursar. So I said, I don't have the bursar's number. And they said, he's having lunch. Wait. And it was so hot. I said, okay, I'm leaving. But they're not letting anybody in. Like
Uh,
I just walked in a little into the gate and they said no. But it was beautiful. Whatever I saw was just pristine. It was so clean and bright and beautiful. So that was my experience.
Lovely. So, okay, so let's get on with our program for the day. Okay, so over to you, Kavita. What do we have on our agenda?
As always, with the assembly, we start with an OL representative speaking to us. So this month we have Elizabeth Tarakan Beliapa. She was known as Elizabeth Tarakan in school and Elizabeth Beliapa famously after. And she's our vice president. Fabulous Beena auntie, would you come online, please?
Hi,
Hi.
Kavita. Thank you. Thank you.
You are
Good
looking
evening,
fabulous as
everyone.
usual, auntie.
What did you say? Kavita. Oh, thank you so much, Kavita. Good evening, everyone. As always, a pleasure to be here representing the OLA. In the month of December, we conducted our virtual AGM, a statutory requirement of all registered societies. It was well attended. We thank each and every one who joined us for this. Again, in the month of December, 2 chapters have had get-togethers, Mumbai and Kochi, which were again very well attended. We thank the chapters for sharing the photos and video clippings of the fun-filled events. Many more chapters were set to do their get-togethers, but they had to postpone indefinitely with the third wave of the coronavirus. We do know a huge number of our fraternity tested positive with the virus in the last 2 months, and we trust all of you have recovered well. Fortunately, it was a milder wave. Everyone, please take care. Networking is the strength of every alumni. The strong goal set by the OLA is to have a 0-degree separation in the alumni. With this in mind, the OLA has taken the decision to improve the global alumni engagement and OL-driven initiative through inclusion of working team members in the committee. This also sets the foundation for more OLs to participate in committee affairs and gain experience to come into future committees as official office bearers. We also plan to improve OLA communication and engagement through an upcoming centralized website. We would welcome collaboration and participation from you all to reach our goals. A special thanks to the initiative of Rohan Shetty from the committee, who has set up many WhatsApp groups, region-wise in India and also in different parts globally to get the community closely connected. These are different from the numerous batch fun-filled groups which has kept the class together. These new groups is to facilitate chapter get-togethers. It is good to see how much interaction is happening on these groups. We would love to have new ideas and suggestions from all of you as to what we can do for our assemblies to make it more lively and also for our community-driven initiatives. Please come forward. You can reach us at the olalovedale@gmail.com. I repeat, at the olalovedale@gmail.com. We have lost one of our own, Neeta Joshi, Neet Chopra, batch of 77, Devda House, on the 8th of February. She is survived by her husband Harshad Joshi, batch of 71, Vindhya House, and her two sons, Siddharth and Vikramaditya. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Thanks everyone for joining the assembly. Over to you, Kavita, to take the program through.
Mahesh, oh, thank you, Beena Auntie. Mahesh, do we have the headmaster here now?
Yes, in fact, he's all ready to go on air with us. And this is for all of you who are watching. I guess you're aware the school was kind of shut down, and from what I understand, it's reopened. But let's hear the details from the horse's mouth, the headmaster himself. Wait up while I bring him on.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Mr. Mahesh. Good evening. Yeah, I'm quite happy to see you all. And also, I would like to give some positive news. After a prolonged COVID lockdown and situation, now school is reopened. The Tamil Nadu government has given clearance for reopening of the school from 1st of Feb. So we have decided to open on 3rd Feb. Since we have children from 5th standard to 12th standard, we are not taking them all of together. We are just taking them in a staggered way. First is the 9, 10, 11, 12, the children who are senior classes. About 50% of the students in senior classes are here. And the next is some of the juniors have also come. And 18th is another window. By 18th, 20th, most of the students will be back. At the moment, we have got about 480. That is something like 50% of students. As a support to the parents and students, we are also running a parallel online curriculum because since the vaccination is not available for junior kids, especially children below 15 years, we are giving this option. And by 28th, by end of this month, we are planning to go completely offline and reorganizing the sports, games, activities, and everything, and giving the best we can to the students. And it's a big challenge. Of course, schools are reopened, and COVID situation is still continuing, and it's going to be there for at least for 2-3 years. We have to learn to live with it, and we have to prepare ourselves and also our children with social distancing and physical distancing and various government protocol, follow it and sail through the challenging time. And otherwise, as it is, because of a prolonged gap, there is a very wide learning gap which has developed, especially among the junior kids. And board examination is also scheduled. Now the final board examination for 10th and 12th is going to be there in April. Generally, it is in March. So now it's 1 month is delayed. It is going to be the final board will be on 26th of April. It is starting. It may carry on till May. In your time, most of the board exam gets over by 2nd or 3rd week of March. But now it's prolonged because of this situation. But anyway, these are the situation the entire world is facing. We are going through it, and I'm 100% sure with everybody's support, we will definitely overcome all these challenges, and we'll be back almost to a normal situation by end of another 2 months. And something good about school situation at the moment is that there are a lot of schools are suffering with various issues like admissions and all this, but we are comparatively better. There is no decline in our registration for admission. That speaks really good of our system. People are happy, and our admission procedure is still going on. And there are few cases of withdrawal because of multiple reasons, but at the same time, the registration and demand for admission is increasing, and we are going through the admission process, and maybe by next week we'll be finalizing the admission process. The entire staff, as a precaution, entire staff is now vaccinated. The booster dose is also given to the staff, and we are going ahead with that. Quite a few students, in fact, 90% of the students above 15 years of age group are all vaccinated, first dose. A second dose, we are organizing it from our school infirmary. Similarly, we are waiting for the vaccination for 15 and below. By the time it comes, we will administer that most probably from our school when it is available. So we are making every single precaution to take care of the health aspect, to get the school running, and also taking the information and data from the government organization. They have been a great support to us. And that's all at the moment. And let's hope we'll come back to almost a normal life by another 1 or 2 months. Then I can open up, OLs and visitors can visit the school. At the moment, we have reopened in December, January, when we closed down for winter vacation. We opened it up for visitors and OLs and prospective parents. Now again, the students are back. So we are again going back to a bubble system. And once the situation improves, we will definitely open it up for visitors, OLs, and other people who want to see the school. Bear with us, because safety first. The life of the children is a priority, and we are going ahead with that. Thank you for the support. Thank you for your guidance, and that's all from my side.
Sir, on that note, I came to school today and I walked into the gate a little bit and I was barred from entering. And they said, no, you cannot. They treated me like a pariah. And I was like, no, but can I just take a picture here? And they said, no, you have to be out of the gate. But I did respect it a great deal, sir, because I love the fact that they are that strict,
That is once things open up, definitely. I want to meet you people. Definitely, I want people to come and see the school. We have been maintaining that, we've been working out well. And if visitors don't come, we don't do any publicity for the school at the moment.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for taking your time out and coming on air to address. I'm sure there are several people who are watching us who are concerned. I just feel bad for the batch, because I remember around this time, I mean is the time that you were talking about when they would be actually, now they'd be appearing for their boards. I remember we had already finished our exams, and we were, busy with our parade and Founders Day celebration. It was such an atmosphere of excitement, and these students are missing all that fun. So
Mahesh,
that's too bad.
Mahesh, at least we are open enough.
Yes. So there's no chance of Founders.
Maybe we can think of next year, that is September. It may be something we can think of it again. Things are all evolving. See, right at the moment we have nothing in our hand. It depends on the government.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All the best.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sir.
Yeah. Bye.
Well, so that was our headmaster for you, and as he was rightly saying, everything is shifted by a month or two. Boards that shifted, and when students actually would have been relieved after completing their exams and practicing for their founders, unfortunately now have to, right in the peak of all that excitement, have to appear for their board exams. So with that, we move on to our next item on the agenda, which is hymn that I'm sure every batch of Laurentians who have gone through have very clearly remember at least the title of this hymn, called Alo Amar, Alo Ogo. Right? Rings a bell, right? So let's take a listen. Wasn't that really heartwarming?
It was
I
amazing.
remember uh, back in the day when we were in school. I don't know. We barely know this song. I didn't understand a word of this song in school, but I still remember it kind of stood out as compared to the other hymns. I guess probably because this is the only Bengali hymn, or this is the only hymn that we never understood the words of, but we still felt we were singing it right. I'm not sure whether any of us sang it right. By the way, this is from the Rabindra Shangi.
Mr. Banu Roy, who was our Hindustani classical teacher, absolutely loved it. So this was a song he sang with most passion in school, and he made us all sing
Oh,
it many
really? Okay. And
times.
there were some batches who kind of were reminiscing when we were asking them to do the recording, and one of them said that during their time there were two girls, one senior, a batch senior to them, and one of their batch, and they were called, one was Malika and one was Malati. So when that part was being sung, I believe the entire boys section were shouting out that name, Malika, Malati. I can just imagine, and how embarrassing for the girl. And there was another, one of the OLs came back and said he thought all along that it was Hello Amar and Hello Hugo. So, but nevertheless, so it was a lovely piece put together by uh, OLs. I hope you all enjoyed listening to it, watching it as much as we enjoyed putting it together. And now to move on to the next item, over to you, Kavita.
So the next part of the OL assembly is the OL tidbits. So, and in this month, we are recognizing the success and achievements of three OLs. So let me introduce all three of them to you. Two of them are authors, one being Shobana Raghavan, who is Mr. Raghavan, the prep school headmaster's daughter. She has written her own poetry, and that's just fantastic. And we've asked her many questions. Mahesh and I were lucky to be able to talk to her and get her to tell us about her book. Similarly, we have Mr. Ramesh Venkateshwaran, who's published the book The Happiness Trail. And in The Happiness Trail, again, he says it was highly influenced by Lovedale and his life there, both as a headmaster and as a student. The third person is Mr. Atul Veer, who has been inducted into the Dealer Scope Hall of Fame in America for his excellence and achievement in entrepreneurship and business. Enjoy. This is Laurentian Tidbits for this month. So, what influenced you to write your book, and did Lovedale have a lot to do with it?
Okay, what influence is too long an answer, but yes, in a way, Lovedale was a part of a trigger, and Lovedale not as a student, but Lovedale as the headmaster. That is really what happened, because it's at that time I came close in contact with this huge gang of kids, and I was at an age when I was getting more philosophical and questions of beyond just earning a living. So I think it's at that time I started looking at what's happening in the world around us. What are we trying to do? Why are? And I run a counseling center in Bangalore. We've run it for 31 years. So it's a combination of factors. And I think Lawrence was the first, because I know I took a film called A Man for All Season and made it a part of my viewing with students at the 11th and 12th standards. And we would get into discussions on values, and so on and so forth. So yes, Lawrence was the trigger, but when I was the headmaster and not as a student.
Okay.
Got it.
This is the book, by the way. Yeah, The Happiness Trail. I don't know if you can attribute success or failure to only one single cause or one single trigger. But if I were to look at the school, I mean, maybe my background, my upbringing, and the school, I think I can say one thing for certainty about the Lawrence School, Lovedale especially, and certainly my association. If I were to say the trigger, I think the single largest trigger or learning I've had from the Lawrence School experience is not the standard boarding school discipline. Is that I think my father drummed it into me before I went to Lovedale. I think it is about the power of relationships and friends. And I think that's a huge thing. I have been lucky because I was a parent of Lovedale. My children studied there. I was the head of Lovedale. I was the secretary of the association. So today I have an alumni friendship of anybody who is 40 years younger to me to 30 years older to me. It's amazing. And I think that is what has been my single largest benefit of being a Laurentian. Today I probably meet my classmates or somebody from Lawrence School almost every week. I go to the Bangalore club, I see 4 to 5 people. I go to the KGA to play golf, I see 4 to 5 people. Otherwise, I'm in touch with my classmates, not on WhatsApp. I don't believe in WhatsApp. I believe in talking. So that has been the importance, the power of people. And that's one of my 5 I's in the book is the second most important thing is people. I say money cannot buy you happiness, but people can decide whether you're going to be happy or not. And for me, that I think is the single largest benefit I've gained. I firmly believe in that. Money can buy you comfort, yes. I always say this, Kavita, it's very simple. If money could buy you happiness, Prozac and antidepressants wouldn't be one of the largest selling drugs at a multi-billion-dollar screen, because the rich only take these drugs. The poor don't take it. If I were to look at the most funny or awkward, I mean, not funny, but I think the best one I could relate to it because I was the headmaster again, was when Miss Geography teacher, I used to talk a lot in class, make a noise. She called me the bullet voice, cannon or bullet or something. And she had to actually send me to K.I. Thomas. And I had to walk into the headmaster's office in the 9th standard, censured by this teacher. And I can remember the headmaster, in his quiet way saying, "Why are you creating trouble for Mrs. Gupta?" and sent me out of the room. Yeah, this book, as I said, really came about because of my starting in the school. And then I went into head a B school in Mysore, the Dharmasthala School of Management in Mysore. And I've been teaching at the IIM Bangalore for the last 30 years, and I continue teaching even now. And I started, interacting a lot with children, youngsters, and I would start wondering about what are they doing, why are we doing what we are doing. So gradually, my first sessions were actually on values, not more than that. It was purely on values. And when I went to Lawrence, it's very interesting. For some, it's in the book. For some strange reason, there was a film I wanted to see. And I got the DVD in 2005 and I saw it. And I was amazed, shocked, surprised at my interest, because the film was A Man for All Seasons. If you guys haven't seen it, which you would not have seen it, It's a must-see for everybody. It's probably the best film made. It's about Thomas More and Henry VIII and all of that stuff, and how this man stands for his values and principles. And the whole film was about that. And when I went to Lawrence, it was all about ragging, bullying, violence, abuse, and a whole lot of stuff. So I somehow said I must show this film. And why I was surprised was I didn't realize this, but I made this. I sat with the prefects. Unbelievable that night. And this school was known for bullying, ragging, abuse, filth, dirt. God, you name it, it was there. And one night at 9 o'clock, these prefects actually ring my doorbell at 9 o'clock in the night. And I said, what are you doing here? So they said, we wanted to talk to you. I said, have you come to bash me up? Where are your hockey sticks? Because I can't see any other reason you should see me. And they said, no, we need to chat with you, sir. And I said, have you told your housemaster you're not supposed to have gone? He says, no, we've told our housemasters and we've come here. And for the next 2.5 hours between 9:30 and 12, we were sitting and talking about how to bring about change, how to bring about change in the culture, in the philosophy, in the value system. And they said, we realize we agree with what you say, but we don't know how to do it. I said, fantastic. If you agree you want to change, the rest is my problem. Then I will deal with and work with you how to make the change happen. And then, in many ways, that was the beginning of a love story. As my wife says, a love story between me and my students in Lawrence for 15 months. So it was a fascinating journey. Yeah.
We learn to communicate. And, as you go through life, you realize that the secret of success is communication. If you can't communicate and articulate your thoughts to people, I live in the US and I deal on a global stage, and you have to communicate with different cultures. And we learned that because, as opposed to going to a city school where you only have a majority of the local population there, we learned to deal with a lot of people from all around the world. And that really was a training ground. So one thing we learned in school was communication. And I look at that, as the key. We learned survival skills also, because you had seniors, you had juniors, you had, in our day, we had quite authoritarian teachers, and we had corporal punishment and caning and so on in those days. So you learned how to stay out of trouble. And probably one more thing is how you present yourself. We learned how to dress smartly in school. We had to be dressed a particular way, shoes, shine, tie, and everything. Whatever you do in life, whether it's business or in profession or whatever, if you present yourself, the decision whether people want to do business with you or deal with you is made in the first 10 seconds. We learned these things very subconsciously in school, but actually, if you think about it, there were key lessons, I would dare say, more than the education itself. These are the keys to success in life. I was an ordinary student in school. I wasn't a brilliant student. I wasn't an outstanding athlete. I marched, I played, I had good friends. We did naughty pranks and did all the regular escapade that gave us a sense of adventure in life and taught us to make good friends, which our batch is very much connected. And so we learned camaraderie, we learned adventure, apart from the other things that I mentioned earlier. The feeling of independence that the school gave us. After all, many of us left home when we were very young. I left home when I was 10 in the 6th standard, came to school. Some of my classmates came much earlier. And we grew up with the feeling of we had to be independent. You had to survive and manage your own food, in the sense that you had to know when to go to eat. You can't just say, I'm going to sulk. You had to get there. You had to eat. You had to play. I was a North Indian studying in a school in South India where I didn't speak the local language. And of course, we had a common language in school. But I think I go a lot to China, for example. I've been there 50 times. But the lesson I learned in being in an unfamiliar environment in Tamil Nadu, the same lessons are applicable going to China. A favorite hymn.
Sing two
I do.
lines.
Well, my favorite hymn in school, the favorite hymn now is Lead Kindly Light. Lead kindly light amid the encircling gloom. Lead thou me on. The night is dark and I am far from home. Lead thou me on. Keep thou my feet. I do not ask to see the distant scene. One step enough for me. Well, there was an orchard at Grasspitch, and I remember we were always very hungry. And one of the delicacies was having roasted potatoes, spuds,
Yes.
So three of us went down to Grasspitch, and there was an orchard there. And we raided that, and we used to take our pillowcases with us. And we loaded some potatoes and we started running. But unknown to us, there was a dog. And so the dog chased us, three of us, and actually caught one of the other two and bit him on the leg. And that became a very serious situation, and he had to have injections, and needless to say, we were busted. And so that became quite a situation. It was part of our, you can say, crimes started at a very early age, so if you call it that. But recently we had a school reunion, and one of the third person who was bitten came up to me and he says, "Don't you remember me?" I mean, it's a long time. It's almost 50 years now coming up since we finished. But he said, "Don't you remember me?" And I was the person who got bitten. And I said, "Really? That's wonderful." And we bonded after so many years because we had this shared experience after so many years, and so.
Oh, that's lovely.
Thank you,
Thank you
Atul.
so much. Thank you so much, Atul, for taking your time.
Thank you for taking
And that was
time.
Thank you for the invitation. It was my pleasure. Thank you, Kavita. Thanks, Mahesh.
All right.
Thank you. Let's all stay in
Bye,
touch.
Atul.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye-bye then. Bye-bye.
Which part of a school do you think influenced your career as an author or whatever you did in life?
Right, pretty much everything, Mahesh. I think Lawrence and Lovedale, the place, has had a huge influence on my work as a writer, particularly as a poet, because I think one of the things that it really nurtured in me was this aspect of solitude. I don't think we realize it much when we're children, but as you grow up and in the hustle bustle of city life, grabbing that moment of solitude is so difficult, right? You have to really strive hard, take on meditation classes or do stuff like that to find that solitude. But in Lovedale, it just comes it came so naturally. And how could you not be inspired, right? We had completely cloudless days, blue hills, blue mountains all over, no threat of creepy crawlies, and very Hogwartsy, right? We lived in Hogwarts, right? It was actually magical. If you come to think of it. And the library, one of my favorite places, both in prep school and in the high school, in senior school. I loved the library. And Ms. Mohanraj was a huge influence on all of us who studied there. And we had some fantastic teachers. Shirantini Hensman, who taught us in class 7, I think, gave me that spark. She called me outside class one day and said, "You know what, you can really write." And I think that stayed with me. You don't know how, they say that, right? You never know when a teacher's influence ends. It affects eternity, is this age-old. So I think he had Mr. Nitya Matai, although he taught us history and civics. I think that really spurred my interest in research, and that's why I do regional histories in my nonfiction work. So that's huge credit to Nitya Matai, really. Huge credit to him. We had some of the best teachers, really. I recall one, I don't think any of my classmates batch of 91 will forget this, particularly Ahlu Alapati, who was then Ahlu Medag. So, you know how founders practices, right, in Lawrence? Like, I think classes used to end on February 28th, and all through March, April, May, we would just be practicing from morning till end. Or was it April? I think the whole of April, we used to just be, out on the field, going from one activity to another. So we were part of dance. Ahlu and I were in class 10. This was in 1989. And we had to perform Kathak, the two of us. So this is rigorous practice, Mrs. Nirmala Panikar. The doyen that she was, of course, none of us ever realized it when we were in school. But she made us diligently practice morning, afternoon. I think we had practice in the evening also. And we were late for PT, which is at 4:30. And Selva, right? He and his booming voice. So he had this annoying habit of calling out my name, Shobana, where are you? Right in the middle. And I did not want that to happen. So I charged all the way from CD school, and we had to get into middle flats through top flats, right? We would take that. I mean, it was all not so swankily done as it is now, right? Yeah. So I wanted to be there early. And like a fool, I decided to run into the giant cypress trees between on the road to top flats, and crashed my head into a giant tree, was knocked unconscious, and spent 15 days in military hospital. So Ahlu went on to do a solo performance, a Kathak. So for me, that is unforgettable,
Laurentians.
Keep
the dear old school in mind. Strengthen our hearts to play our parts. Thrust pure and wrong behind. We live our life mistress and strive, with the power and the will to win. And we show the world our flag unfurled, with our watchword, never give in.
Right. So my book is a book of Haibun, a Japanese short form of prose and poetry. It was published by Red River in 2021, and it's called A Sky Full of Bucket Lists. So it's available on Amazon. So please go buy it.
Yes. And over to the next item on the agenda, and that is a tribute by Santosh Mani, who's a batch of 1970. And the tribute is to, guess who? It's Denzel Prince. Denzel Prince was head boy in 1954. What I'm really fascinated about is he left in 1954 as head boy, and then he comes back 2 years later as the bandmaster and took over from his father, Victor Prince. Amazing. So let's take a look at this tribute.
Hi folks, I'm Santosh, batch of 1970. I'd like to sing an old song called Autumn Leaves. The instrumental version of this song used to be played by the school orchestra from, as far as I remember, 62 when I joined, way down to 69 and 70 when I had the pleasure of drumming to it. Mr. Denzel Prince was our orchestra and bandmaster, so I'd like to dedicate this song to him. Sir, if you're watching this program, this one's for you. For the record, the music you hear has been played by me. It's not a download. And tonight I'll hear a winter song, but I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves begin to fall, the fallen leaves grip my longing, the autumn leaves it will go.
And now, wasn't that an amazing tribute from one OL to another, and so beautifully sung? Well, we have another song for you now, a hymn. We used to call it the Ode to Joy when we were in school, but it's also called the Hymn for the Nations, which was written in 1944 for a movie, Arturo Toscanini. And it was meant unify the nations, a hymn to bring the various nations that were in dispute together. And we sang this through school, and how wonderful. Now let's listen to it here.
Sing your country's anthem, shout your land's undying fame, light the wondrous tale of nations with your people's golden name. Tell your father's noble story, raise on high your countryside. Join them in the final glory, brother, lift your flag with mine. Hail the sun of peace, new rising, hold the war clouds close unfurled, blend our banners, oh my brothers, in the rainbow of the world, red as blood and blue as heaven, wise as age and proud as youth. Melt our colors, wonder woven in the great white light of truth. Build the road of peace before us, build it wide and deep and long. Sweep the slow and check the eager, help the weak and curb the strong. None shall push aside another, none shall let another fall. March beside me, oh my brother, all for one and one for all.
And our next piece is a little fun fact.
I think the most sobering hymn for me has been Lead Kindly Light. So it's, lead kindly light amid the encircling gloom. Lead thou me on. The night is dark and I am far from home. Lead thou me on. So I think as students, whatever be our mischief, whatever be our noise, I think when we sang this hymn, we all were seeing.
connected with the school. And here we have, I'm bringing on Shrimoy Agarwal.
Hi, Mahesh.
Hi, Shrimoy.
Yeah,
Which
so this
batch
story,
are you from and which house?
I'm Sumeru 1999.
And you had an interesting experience. Could you tell us?
Yeah, so basically, I'm a pilot with Indigo, and so there was this flight that I was doing, which was basically from Bangalore to Coimbatore, and so generally what happens, that I actually fly nowadays a little less than I used to before because now I also do instructor duties. So generally I had a lot more energy to, fly that day, and I was very happy that I was actually flying to Coimbatore because I was flying after a long time. And generally I'm a bit of a chatty guy. So I on the, PA system, when we are flying into Coimbatore, so, I just made a little statement that, it takes me back to my boarding school days and eating at Annapurna and, Coimbatore, the famous dosa place in Coimbatore. So if somebody has time, you guys must visit. And so that was it. That was just the bit of an explanation that I gave, and I was also just pointing out the hills to the people on the window seats and stuff like that. And so then I get a message from the girls from the cabin crew that there are a bunch of boys on the flight, and they want to know which school. So it was almost time for landing at that time. So I said, okay, I'll speak to them properly after we land, because I think generally, it was a little bit of a busy, busy evening. And so came in, landed in Coimbatore. Then on the way out, they were walking out, and then they were like, so I'm like, oh, which school are you guys from? Then they're like, Lawrence School, Lovedale. So I said, never give in. And then they were like, oh, you know our school? I said, yeah, I'm from the batch of 99.
Amazing.
And then, of course, it was a good, fun conversation. In fact, one of the boys was a nephew of one of my batchmates, Prem, who's based out of Tirupur now. And so I was WhatsApping everyone. That's how old we are.
Okay.
Guy in class 12 is like our nephew.
Really?
I mean, our nephew, like we are Mamaji level now. So
So lovely. See, you never know who you're going to bump into from school, and this happens to me as well, right? And alumnus are so huge, right? There are so many Laurentians out there in the country, all cities. So that was fun, and hope you all enjoyed watching today evening's program as we enjoyed putting it up for you. And we had Kavita as co-host for the first time. Over to you, Kavita. How was it? How did you feel? How did it feel to be
It was
the host
amazing,
for the first
Mahesh.
time?
Thank you. I think a lot of it was to do with you, and also just meeting all these fantastic OLs who are just, so warm and nice and, down to earth. And I loved the experience. Thank you, OLA. Thank you, all of you. And I would, encourage other people to do the same and probably come and co-host or host the show, because it's fun and it just it takes you back to school, and nobody should give up this opportunity, if you ask me. The other thing is, if you're proud of one of your batchmates, do send it into the OLA so they can be featured on the show, or anything interesting, anything fun. It would be great to share it with our entire community, since we do have a fabulous community of our own. Anyway, thank you, Mahesh.
Hey, thanks, Kavita. It was fun having you. And before we sign off, we'd like you to watch the credit reel. It is a small tribute to all the people that have helped put all this together. Basically, the core group. We call ourselves the Over Into group. Okay, so please watch the credit reel. It would never have been possible to get this to you month after month for a year or more, if not for this entire team and their over enthusiasm. Take a look, and till we meet for the next time next month, goodbye.